Being upfront, I'm not well versed on the topic of trans people as a whole, so I'd rather you just go listen to a trans person talk about it, since, they probably talk circles around me when it comes to that sort of thing. If you really want to learn more about it. So as I proceed, I can only really go over the basics of, about trans people without accidental misrepresentation. So let's finally get into talking about trans people and how that affects cis people as well. Beginning with this thing of cis people claiming they can always sniff out trans people. To provide an example of the type of things that just proves whether or not someone else, is trans, it's broad shoulders, the jaw, the voice, the brow. Wait, didn't we already talk about this in the first video? About how these features... Oh, that's right. So you can already see how it gets tied up very quickly when it comes to how masculinity and femininity is already perceived. Having these features doesn't make you a man or a woman. It just means you have those features. So to insult trans women like that is like also insulting women too, but I mean, if that's what you're going for, I mean, two birds, one stone, right? I know the point I'm making is pretty clear, but I think this is worth talking about because with the people who don't like trans people, right? If they really cared so much about how masculinity and femininity is viewed, you wouldn't think they would make fun of what features someone has, right? I'm just a gay homo, what do I know? A lot of what I talked about with the LGBT community in the last video also applies to trans people as well. But I want to go back to the parents thing because there's something particularly important I wanted to mention. Unless you're actively aware of how masculinity and femininity has been basically boxed into minimizing emotions and putting on a facade of stability, raising a kid is going to be hard. Because when you start pushing certain shit on your kid, they're gonna realize one day that they're not the spitting image of the modern masculine man or the modern feminine woman. And I mean, I kind of went through this myself, and I'm not even trans. Like, I remember at like 5, I fucking hated wearing dresses. I was like, I just don't like dresses, right? I'm not a dress person, really. But that was just, I don't know. I think this is an experience that not only trans people go through, right? With what clothes they want to wear when they're young, trying to figure out how to express themselves. But I mean, clearly, cis people like me go through it as well. So this goes back to when I said we should just let kids be who they want to be. Because sure, maybe your son isn't the super masculine stoic, but damn it, who cares when, he has good character? I think there should be more emphasis on raising a good person than like anything else, right? I mean, your son, your daughter, your child, they're gonna figure out who they are whether or not you intervene with it. I know some of the takes I've been giving have been pretty lukewarm in these past 3 videos, but I mean, when you really get into understanding stuff like this and like listening to people with that perspective, I mean, you just realize that shit isn't really black and white. I mean, you can't just come up with a single solution to a complicated problem just because it's easier that way. And that's what I did with trans people, because I had been getting misgendered due to my voice and, I don't know, my androgynous face. So when they were complaining about that, online or whatever, I just thought they were being sensitive or something. But I realized that being called something you're not is fucking frustrating. And for crying out loud, I'm cisgender. So, I had to deal with... But I have a vagina. Did the doctor make me trans? No. It can't be. But I'm technically not cisgender. But I'm also not trans? Oh god. I mean, even though I was missexted, my birth certificate doesn't decide my gender, and I've been a woman for the past 18 years. Maybe I don't have the bustiest hips, the biggest tits, or a high, squeaky voice, or narrow feminine shoulders, but I'm still a woman. Women and men come in many forms and different, shapes and sizes, right? But I think we should focus more, perhaps, on the qualities of a person. But what I'm saying is, maybe tearing down people for their features, sexuality, or gender is fucking pointless. I decided to cut out a section of the video for the sake of brevity, and it was getting a bit convoluted, but essentially the point I was making was about gender standards and how masculinity and femininity are mainly dependent on subjectivity. What's masculine in this culture is feminine to the next. This strict frame of what gender can and can't be is superficial at best when you consider the fact that everyone has masculine or feminine traits in them, personality-wise, and on them, physically speaking. Yet that doesn't determine their gender. It's up to the individual to identify themselves, okay? Anyways, what makes me a woman compared to someone else is bound to be different, especially when you take ethnicity and culture into account. Interestingly enough, I've heard someone talk about how the beauty standard in America is more masculine. And they said this in reference to number 67 from Squid Games and how, from where she's from, right? She wasn't regarded as all that attractive, but when she was introduced to the Western audience, everyone was like, oh my god, I'm fucking gay. Holy shit, right? Everyone found her like very attractive. I mean, she's very attractive. I think this really shows how subjective beauty is, of course, and how we view it under the context of femininity and masculinity. And trying to bring all these concepts together, right? And really think about it. I can't talk down on you know what I'm saying, trans men or trans women. I mean, come the fuck on. When a man is seen doing something feminine, he's not a real man. But then what if that man becomes a woman? Oh, right, he's not a real woman. But like, if I was in their position, I'd be frustrated too. Like, okay, I'm not a real man, I'm not a real woman. Then what the fuck am I, right? Because it really seems like trans people aren't really treated as real people. I mean, they're either used as a punching bag or a way to make someone else look good. And I apologize for using them in that punching bag way and thinking lowly of them. And besides, gender dysphoria is like really fucking interesting because I hear people talk about it, especially they have that sort of thought when they're really young. Sam Collins, a trans man on YouTube that I watch from time to time, described it as a feeling that, well, he can't describe, and that intrigued me. It makes me think about how not only how hard it is mentally, but physically too, to become a passing man or a passing woman. And I think, you know, with all the work it takes to get on the hormones and do the surgery if you have the money, which you probably don't because that's a fuck ton of money. I mean, shouldn't that at least show people that trans people are being serious? And they have a fresher perspective about how different life is versus when you're presenting as a man or a woman. And I don't know, shouldn't we take that into account? Couldn't that sort of point of view help us understand each other a little better? And when I was thinking about the message I was sending about trans people, I don't think I was really helping, was I? I don't think I was really, oh, I'm helping you, right? I think it was pretty harmful. Like, saying that I cared about those people and yet I was mocking them in my old videos, like, I mean, that screams disingenuous, yeah? Anywho, I think I'm pretty much done. I know that people can probably talk circles around me when it comes to everything I mentioned, right? But I just wanted to have a more in-depth apology video series. Because how are you gonna know how deranged I was unless I tell you how deranged I was? And I know, I guess the style in which I did it, probably a little unconventional, but with all the things that I mentioned, right, you have to realize these are all beliefs that I used to have. So maybe it's a little maybe that's confusing for someone who's watching, which is why I keep repeating these are old beliefs that I've had because I don't have them anymore. And since I don't have them anymore, it's easier for me to talk, I guess, in a third person, because I know that person was me, right? But I can't identify with that person anymore. So it just feels weird, I guess. And maybe I framed this all in a weird way, and I'm sorry. That was not the intention. I just wanted to put it very matter-of-factly when talking about this, so there wasn't any room for confusion. Me when I don't know words. So I wanted to save this part for the end because I've noticed with how people make apology videos, right? They talk about what they did, but they also mix in personal stuff. But I didn't want to do that with this series. I didn't really want to do that until the end because I wanted to present everything that I had belief in, right? Like pretty much everything. I don't think I forgot anything. If I did, I'm probably going to put it into this last bit. But yeah, I just didn't want to cloud the fucking videos with too much personal whatever. Because I didn't want the message of it to get lost, right? But now I think it's a good time to, I guess, explain myself more to you guys. I guess we'll start off with racism, right? Obviously, I didn't have to go down that path of self-hatred. Or any of the other paths of self-hatred, or just hatred in general, right? But I had a personal, I guess, grievance with a very important black person in my life. And down the line, that grew into me hating the black part of myself. Feels weird to say out loud, I'll admit. But, not only did that self-hatred grow outward, it didn't really help that I was surrounded by a bunch of white people who were telling me that I don't act black. I mean, good old New York, right? We're not in the city, we're in the lamest fucking part of New York. So that mixed in with my personal grievance, I started to view black people in a very negative way. And I didn't want to associate myself with them, if that makes sense. I didn't want to be a part of it. And you know, I eventually made my way to more extreme beliefs through the meme pipeline. Not to say that memes made me racist, obviously. I just mean to say, like, when I say the meme pipeline, what I'm saying is I fell for the meme. The meme of hating black people and using fucking stats to belittle them. The meme of hating the black part of myself. And the meme that is a lot of far-right, you know, beliefs. I recall a comment on the race video that had asked me how I had gotten over the internalized racism, right? And I want to talk about that and how I got into and got out of my homophobia and transphobia. Of course, through the line of logic that I presented in the race video, just, I guess over time I started to question my own racism. I mean, as someone who was really into conspiracy theory stuff, I went full circle and started questioning the very things I believed in. Also, being Christian played a factor into it because, well, I don't know, when I think about it, I think, did Jesus do any of this fucking nonsense? Did Jesus go on fucking Twitter and get into the replies of a trans person and say, "You're not a real insert here"? Did Jesus mock or belittle anyone? Or did Jesus die for us because, well, he thought we were worth something? What I'm saying is I got over my own racism because it was just unnecessary and it just didn't feel right after a certain point. And I eventually moved on from the personal grievances I had with that important black person in my life. And I don't know, I guess the racism just kind of faded away. There wasn't like an exactly a gotcha moment or anything. It was like, oh my god, everything clicks. And not really. It was just, I guess it was just healed through time and understanding. To go into the homophobia, of course, as I said in the homophobic video, I was homophobic before I realized I was gay myself. Oh fuck. Just thinking about it, just, oh my god. That moment when I was like, oh, I don't know, I think it might be something. But it's not like the homophobia went away. It actually got worse. And, well, the school I went to had very catty people. Like, if I were open about being bisexual, I would have been viewed as weird. And you know what's really weird, though? when GSA became a fucking thing, right? The same people who made me feel that way were suddenly fucking allies. Oh my god, I love gay people, blah, 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 blah. All that bullshit, right? And it just, oh, it made me feel so homophobic. Because it was like, holy fuck, like, you made me feel that way. Damn you. You know what I mean? Like, fuck. It pissed me the fuck off, man. Same thing with the race shit. The same thing with the whole racism bullshit. The same people, the same fucking people who would tell me, oh, you don't act black. Yeah, now they're turning their fucking profile pictures all black and putting BLM in their fucking bio. Like, I know I shouldn't have, been racist or homophobic, but it's like, holy moly. I did a lot of things out of spite, obviously, as you can tell. At that point, I started repressing it really hard, to the point of making fun of LGBT people, and gaining some sort of ego off of it, even though I was just being a closeted salty asshole. And when I say salty, I mean really salty. At some point I became Catholic, and that really didn't help. I mean, there were Catholics at that school, but they weren't homophobic, so, this is just a me thing, right? This is just a me thing. I know it's in Catholicism that it's like, gay people bad, or, whatever. But there are non-homophobic Catholics, so I'll give you guys that. But you have to remember that I despised fake allyship, and still do. And I guess the way I went about it was like I had some sort of weird vengeance in me. And the way to express that was by being homophobic and even more self-hating. Holy fuck, dude. I was so good at it too. That's too bad. That's too bad. I was really good at hating myself. What happened? After freshman year, I went into online schooling, and boy, did I live in an echo chamber. I was no longer forced to be in proximity to those type of people. So, using a bit of psychology to describe what I did next, I unconsciously searched for anything that would confirm and justify my self-hatred. Extremist politics is really great for people who are lost in their lives and they want to take their anger out on society because, screw that whole personal responsibility thing. I was pretty deep into that stuff, but the thing is, as quickly as I went in, I guess as quickly as I went out, but I mean, I guess the question is, how did I get out of that echo chamber? Well, I think it started when my old Twitter account got banned, and they didn't give me a reason as to why, but I mean, if you've been listening to what I've been apologizing for in these past 3 videos, do you really need a definable reason? I mean, I think we already got the reason, bro. I was still on the self-hatred wave, but it was when one of the people I kind of had connection with, sort of like a friend's friend situation, they came out as trans. I'm not entirely sure what the psychoanalysis answer is for this, but it's like a little switch flipped inside of me, I guess. And the transphobia just, I don't know, it kind of went away. Probably because the transphobia came from the stuff I was seeing online instead of like a personal place. So I imagine it was easier for me to accept them because it didn't come from a personal place, like I said. But, well, that kind of started a snowball effect. And I guess in hindsight, that snowball effect, I guess it showed me something I turned blind to. Sometime in February of 2021, my best friend and I came out to each other. But the reason why she didn't want to tell me and that she feared telling me was because she thought I would unfriend her. And that got me, man! And in the present moment, it gets me now because sometime later, I had another friend come out to me as trans, but she gave me the same reasoning. She didn't want to tell me she was trans because she thought I would just unfriend her. And this is so corny, but it kind of kills me to think about because I really had no clue that the way I was acting was genuinely affecting the people around me. and the people I had connection with. I had lost friends before because of the shit I was saying, and I pretty much just brushed it off because I was so in my own head, right? Like I just didn't give a fuck, I guess. But again, in hindsight, I lost real fucking friends because I was in a self-hatred tirade. And I've come to realize just how hard it is to find real fucking friends and to find people who really like you for you. But the problem is, I wasn't being a real one. I wasn't a real friend. And that's something I long for these days because I had real good people, in my corner who really just fucked with who I really was, who wouldn't have cared if I was gay or not, and I lost them. It's my fucking fault. You really are your own worst enemy, huh? Not only that aspect is what gets me really upset with myself, but it's because I know the feeling of concealing who you fucking are just so the people you like will stick around. And I create an environment for like that for my friends, and it's like I know that I know that feeling all too well myself. So it's just I was just so, like I said, in my own head, so blinded by my insecurities that I created the very environment that got me here in the first place. I was too egotistical and up my own ass to actually consider that, the way that I felt, viewed, and treated certain people, like whether or not that was really worth it. And I don't know, I guess I'm at the point where I think friendship is more important than my insecurities. So I'm sorry to them for doing that to them, right? And for not being a good friend because, well, shit, I definitely could have done better, right? And I wish to rectify my actions and my words. And I know that people in like the very first, apology video, they're saying that it wasn't that much of a big deal or whatever, but you're just a rando on the internet. You're not me, right? You didn't take the place of me. You didn't live my life. You didn't take the place of the people that I affected, right? You just, I don't know, you literally just don't know. You're not in the place to say whether or not it was that bad, right? You're on the outside looking in, and I don't know, I think maybe that those comments, right, on the first apology video, I think maybe they fueled these videos, this apology series, because it's like, they don't get it. They don't get it. And I used to not get it either. And even if they do kind of get it, they don't get it the way that I get it now, right? And it's taking a lot of time and a lot of learning and like listening, like actually listening to the very people who I would mock, right? To, I guess, get to this place. Also, I know that I've been kind of like laughing in these videos and stuff. It's not to make light of what I did, obviously. It's just, I can't take that version of myself very seriously these days. Like, I know the shit I said was seriously bad, but it's like so cartoonishly stupid and so out of a place of insecurity and spite, right? It's just, I can't take that very seriously. I can't. I can't help but laugh at it. I'm sorry. For the misogynistic, anti-Semitic stuff, the misogyny went away when the homophobia went away. As for the anti-Semitism, that was just a product of the far-right beliefs, not to justify or try to make a reason as to why I was that way, obviously. I came to the conclusion that it makes no sense to put down Jewish people and their appearance and feed into stereotypes and etc. Because a lot of that anti-Semitism is just taking someone like Jeffrey Epstein and being like, look, Jews bad, but I don't know, that's just silly to me now, because it's like, I mean, you think the elitists are all Jews. Like, there's a lot of black ones, there's a lot of white ones, there's a lot of Latino ones, there's a lot of Christian ones, there's a lot of Muslim ones, but whatever, that's not the point. That's not the goddamn point. I truly don't think it matters what ethnicity, religion, or gender or sexuality you are, because it's just essentially about having money and power. But whatever, what do I know? I'm just a goofy bisexual mixed girl. I'm just a psyop waiting for her handler. Anyway, I've come to realize who I really am when I'm not closeted and I'm actually happy. When I don't have it in me to have such unnecessary hatred for people of different ethnicity, sexuality, or gender. So of course I apologize for all those things, and I hope with these videos I've made things excruciatingly clear. I do not ask for forgiveness. The people who I have mocked and belittled in the past are more than entitled to their anger, and well, I mean, they have pretty good fucking reason for it. No more bigoted content from me. Sorry. I just make apology videos now. We're not going back. We're going forward. 2023, baby. Do I want to add something else to the video? Sure. Just for this little apology video, I'll add a little something to the end. No matter who you are surrounded by, no matter what you've been taught to think, no matter any of that, right? For the love of God, be yourself. Please work through your insecurities and just be your fucking self. Please. Just, oh my god, life gets so much easier. Life gets very fucking easy when you're just yourself, when you're just you, because when you're just you, anyone who doesn't fuck with you just goes away, right? So just be you, just be yourself, and constantly pursue yourself. Don't pursue the idealistic version of yourself. Don't pursue anyone else other than who you are right now. Please. That's the advice I have. Advice in an apology video, that's so weird. I don't really know how these are really structured, but yes, please, if you're gonna take, no, you should probably take everything I've said out of these apology videos. But you should especially take that, because it makes things just so much easier, and it gives you more room in your life to do what you really want to do, right? I mean, if you're not on Twitter all day, like, fucking being all mad all the time, like, oh my god, look at this trans person, oh my god, look what they're doing on TikTok, like, who gives a fuck, dude? Live your life, get a hobby, fucking do something, make something, create something, be something, be you. That's all I want the viewer to be, is you. Be you, not who someone else wants you to be, or who you think you should be. Just be who you already are, right? But Gabby, what if I'm racist? Well, don't be that. I just mean authenticity, right? Because when I made that first apology video, right, it's not like my apology was in vain, but I don't think I fully had grasped what I did and had fully understood, like, everything, right? So I think, despite the fact that these apology videos are very distant in time, right? Like, oh, this one came out like 3 months ago, this one came out like 8 months ago, right? Despite that, I think this was probably for the best, right? Because how are you going to apologize for something you did yesterday, right? It's hard to just quickly apologize for something that you've yet to fully learn, right? Like, learn what you did, learn how that impacts people, learn how and where that came from, right? So I guess that's why these videos take so fucking long.